And we're back
Welcome back.
to the Medium Cool Show, episode 3.
Mm-hmm.
It was first called the Blow Up Show, but we changed the name because there's some other names. Medium Cool is a good ass movie too.
It's a good movie.
Yeah.
It's a really good movie. Haskell Wexler.
Yeah, Haskell Wexler, him trying to be Godard.
Yeah, Robert Forster too.
Yeah, Robert Forster's amazing.
Yeah.
Robert Forster's a legend. R.I.P.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Forster. We had a name change, but we're still developing the show and stuff, so, it might change again, I don't know, but it's a cool name, I think.
Yeah.
And if you're like a real cinephile fan, you know what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's a great movie. We make up the podcast anyway, so it doesn't matter how many times we change the name.
Yeah.
We're just kind of doing this for ourselves, so
Yeah, it doesn't matter, whatever we want to do, it's how it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
This is episode 3. We've done 2 episodes out now.
Yeah.
Making the 3rd one now.
Yeah.
On a roll. Pretty much dropping videos almost every day now. I think it's cool.
It is cool. It is cool. It's really fun to do. It's fun to experiment with how to do a podcast, how to put it all together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just feels good. Like we said the first episode, it's like we're not very comfortable in front of the camera. But I feel like after doing it and just doing it the way we want to do it,
mm-hmm.
I just feel way more comfortable and confident in what we're putting out.
Yeah, and seeing the results is kind of cool when you
Mm-hmm.
actually see it all together and stuff, and
Yeah.
the style. And we've watched some films in the past week. We had the Oscars
Yeah.
that happened,
Yeah.
We got some really cool movie news.
Yeah. We did, yeah.
Yeah, the new Quentin Tarantino movie
Mm-hmm.
was pretty much announced.
Yeah.
From the Hollywood Reporter. It's called The Movie Critic, his new script. I don't know we don't really know anything about casting, but
we know it's going to be Tarantino, so, it's going to be a banger.
yeah, that's really exciting news.
Yeah.
For someone like me. Tarantino is a guy that I go and see his films the first day it comes out,
Mm-hmm.
religiously.
Mm-hmm.
Last time when Once Upon a Time in Hollywood came out, I drove 2.5 hours because I was in Idaho.
Yeah.
And I drove 2.5 hours from McCall, Idaho, which is North Idaho, down to Boise, where it was the closest screening, and
Mm-hmm.
I had to do it. I had to go see it because this is what I do. And the only people that I go see their films first screening, the closest screening I can get is Tarantino and Christopher Nolan. I go see their films first day when it comes out religiously.
Yeah.
And there's no one else that I do that for.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's because they had such a big impact on you. I remember when we were growing up together, it's those were the directors that influenced you the most. You loved them in high school.
Yeah.
And they've always stuck with you, and you found new directors that you love. But those are the ones that really started your passion for it.
For sure. Those are the first guys I followed as filmmakers.
Mm-hmm.
They're definitely entry level, but they're still sick as fuck. I feel like they really push the envelope, and you're just gonna get something different. And they're so passionate about films themselves, and they just want to try to surprise you every time,
mm-hmm.
which is kind of rare now with mainstream cinema. You're just gonna get something crazy, and you got Oppenheimer coming out, this summer, and that'll be sick. But I read a little about the Movie Critic, and apparently it's going to be set in the late 1970s.
Okay, yeah, that's his. He loves that era.
Yeah, he's only doing period pieces
now.
Since Inglourious Basterds, he's only done period pieces, and I think it's supposed to be a little bit based on the critic Pauline Kael. Yeah, he's been on this kind of critic role. He's doing more film criticism stuff now with his podcast, and he's wrote his book, Cinema Speculation, which is a critical critique about films from the 70s and the new Hollywood. So he's very much in that mode now. His films are becoming more about films themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you can see his because he's so passionate about that era and what made him fall in love with movies.
Yeah.
It was that late 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you fall on if he's going to retire after this last movie or not?
Yeah, I think this is going to be his final movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because it sounds like it's going to be, because it's supposed to be, he said it's supposed to be more epilogue-y, rounding off his filmography.
Mm-hmm.
He said that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was really his magnum opus. That's where everything kind of fell, and he was going to make his epic, bombastic film. And then this movie's going to be more of an epilogue to kind of wrap up his whole filmography. So I really do think it's going to be his last movie, unless maybe 10 years down the line he gets a crazy idea, maybe one or two more.
Yeah.
But I think it's dope that he's quitting. I think it's dope that he's retiring off, at the top, and he's leaving you wanting more,
Yeah.
rather than like him slowly just falling off and we're like, oh yeah, what happened to that guy or whatever, even though I don't think that would ever happen if he kept on making movies, because he's just too passionate about it. He's not going to make trash if he doesn't want to. Like he knows what works, and you get it. Like his movies are very satisfying to watch.
Yeah.
And I don't want him to put out anything if he feels like he's not confident with it. And I like that it's like 10 movies in his filmography, even though it's technically, I think it's 11, because Kill Bill, you kind of Kill Bill as one movie.
Yeah.
And it's 2 movies because we paid twice to go see it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really 11 movies, but whatever. I'll give it to him 10.
I think he's definitely going to retire after this. He's been saying it forever.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying, oh, like, there's no way he's going to retire. This guy's not going to give up. But, like, you can come out of retirement. He's not promising he's never going to make another movie ever again.
Yeah.
But I do think he's really finding his love for, like, movie criticism and, like, writing about movies and doing the podcast and stuff, that I think he's going to be more of a writer than a director for the next, like, at least 15 years or something after this.
Yeah, and we've gotten a lot of Tarantino content in the past couple of years without him even doing a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's dropped 2 books, and he's got the Video Archives podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And if you live in LA, like, it's we've got the New Beverly Cinema, which is, he curates himself, I'm pretty sure. I mean, he has a team and everything, but
always on film.
Yeah, it's always like he's still like working and doing his shit, and I think it's dope. And I'm fine with just getting books and listening to the podcasts after. Like, we don't need another, like, I would love to see another Quentin Tarantino movie, but there's going to be an era where we live in where it's like, oh, remember when Quentin Tarantino movies were still coming out?
Yeah.
He was still making films and not retired, and
yeah,
we were around for that.
Yeah.
And that's what's so cool. With his new film, it'll be interesting to see, because it'll be like a female lead in the late 70s, and it's going to be obviously about like movie critics, and I wonder how there's so much that he's probably going to do with that, and hopefully we're going to get some violence in it too.
Mm-hmm. I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. I mean, he has to, right?
Yeah. I hope it's not super duper hangout type movie. Like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was like, I feel like that was his most hangout movie he's done, and I hope it's more plot driven, and then we get the cool narrative, and it's not just like a hangout, like, oh, day in the life type bit, which is cool. I just hope we get like a cool narrative out of it and stuff.
I'm sure we will. I'm sure we'll get, all the Tarantinoisms, snappy dialogue, blood, it's going to be like a fun movie. He's not going to make it for no reason. He's going to have like it be enjoyable for the audience. Mm-hmm. And also he has a TV show coming out too, apparently.
Yeah.
So we're going to get a lot of Tarantino, media in the next couple years, and I'm happy for that, I'm excited, and if he retires, like I said, we're going to be fine just consuming that.
Is there anything like you anticipate from the film?
Well, I don't know much about it, but I'm excited for a female lead. I anticipate, a lot of people are going to want to work on this. A lot of high, A-list celebrities are going to want to be in this movie, and it's probably going to be a great cast, just like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Is it going to be set in Hollywood again?
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be cool. He's going to have, like, great set pieces in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And, I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, we'll get, like, a good budget. I think it's interesting that it's probably going to be, like, sort of based on Pauline Kael, who was, I think it's his favorite film critic. He talks about how, I remember he's discussed how he likes to read. There's some movies that he just likes to read the Pauline Kael reviews more than actually watching the film stuff. Yeah. And she was Pauline Kael was kind of a controversial film critic because of just her, contrarian opinions to really popular films that like came out. Specifically Dirty Harry, saying how this is like a fascist film, blah, 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 and kind of went against it. But then she was also a pioneer for films of the new Hollywood, like movies like Bonnie and Clyde and stuff. She gave a lot of critical praise to a lot of the new Hollywood films. He's a very influential film critic. Probably one of the most famous ones ever.
Hmm.
But then she retired like right before Tarantino started making his films, so she never reviewed his movies, even though she was still alive. Yeah.
That's interesting. I can see why he would kind of align with her thought process, because there's a lot of people he doesn't like their classic movies, like Hitchcock, for example, and all these other famous directors that Tarantino just doesn't like, and he kind of goes against the grain on that one.
Yeah.
I can see him relating to her a lot.
Yeah.
That's interesting about Dirty Harry, because I can kind of see where she's coming from. It is kind of a fascist-esque movie with Dirty Harry kind of just taking the law into his own hands.
Yeah.
But that's what makes it so badass, That's what makes the audience love it.
Yeah, Tarantino is just doing movies now that take place in the past that are about films, because that's like his wheelhouse. Like, I don't think he has much to say about contemporary society anymore.
No, I think, he said many times that movies nowadays are kind of in like a lull period.
Yeah.
Where this era is kind of not the best for cinema. Yeah, I think he wants to make things of the past that, bring him nostalgia and bring him comfort. He wants to share that with the world.
Yeah, and the 1970s is probably the greatest decade for films.
Yeah.
Right? It is really the best.
Yeah.
If I had to choose one decade, I would probably choose the 1970s, and I think a lot of people would.
Mm-hmm.
So many good movies. Directors had so much control. They were so creative, and you got so much violence.
Mm-hmm. You got so much pushing the boundaries of what you can do in film.
Yeah, you got a lot of artistry, and they got way more realistic too, compared to the classic Hollywood sort of stage-driven set, inside studio.
Yeah. Think about like The Conversation or something like that.
Yeah.
Where it's just like it seems so based in reality that no other movie up to that time had really like achieved that.
Mm-hmm.
Medium Cool came out in the 70s.
1969.
Ooh.
But that's New Wave. That's the New
wave.
Hollywood, because New Hollywood definitely started in 1967 with Bonnie and Clyde and The Graduate, and then Easy Rider came out, and it was like, okay, this is like the bomb that was dropped, and then 1970 the war was won, as he says in Cinema Speculation, which we should talk about sometime.
I gotta finish it though.
But anyway, yeah, super excited for that. He's gonna start shooting in the fall, and then probably be out 2024, dude.
Yeah.
2024 is going to be a good year for films, because if we got that coming out, and then we got the new Bong Joon-ho coming out too, which is going to be sick. The Oscars were this past weekend.
Yeah, we kind of nailed it. Everything we said was going to happen in our Oscar prediction pretty much happened,
Yeah, literally because we skipped a few categories, so we hadn't seen some films, but everything that we had seen, and we got it pretty much right on the nose. Besides maybe best original screenplay went to
Women Talking.
We literally we literally predicted pretty much everything right, like 95% or 90% of everything we said from our previous video. If you go back to our Oscar prediction videos, which came out before the Oscars came out, then you can see that we we called it, dude. We literally called it.
We did. I mean, we said pretty much that Everything Everywhere was going to pretty much sweep a lot of it, which it did. We said that we thought All Quiet on the Western Front was going to win Best Cinematography and Best
Production Design, Best Score.
Brendan Fraser won Best Actor. We said The Whale was going to win Best Makeup.
Yeah. Best Visual Effects, I said Avatar. Remember I specifically said Avatar and that one.
We said that Top Gun Maverick was probably going to win Sound.
Yeah, we definitely said that.
Yeah, I mean...
Best Editing, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
Everything Everywhere won Best Director, Best Actors, Ki-Hye Kwan and Michelle Yeoh.
And Jamie Lee Curtis, which I still stand by. She shouldn't have won that.
Yeah, that was a little weird one. The Jamie Lee Curtis one,
yeah.
I did not expect. I mean, it was going to sweep pretty much all those categories, besides the technical ones where All Quiet on the Western Front won.
Yeah. But Jamie Lee Curtis, you put anyone else in that role, she's not even going to get nominated. It's only because she's Jamie Lee Curtis, which I don't agree with. It's kind of like The Revenant. I don't think it's Leonardo DiCaprio's best performance, but they're like, oh, we have to give it to him. I don't subscribe to that whole, because of your track record, you win this year.
Yeah, they definitely do that, because DiCaprio was nominated so many times that they had to give it to him that year, even though it's not even his best. But that's what they do, they're almost like, okay, we're like, you deserve it. It's almost like you deserve an Oscar, even though it's not your best performance. Or
I mean, there's something to be said with actors' legacies. But there's a lot of great actors that haven't even won yet. Like, they've just been nominated. So I don't think an Oscar is really telling of, like, your career.
No, it's not, dude. Like it's definitely not. Like some of my favorite directors have never been nominated.
Mm-hmm.
You know, specifically like Nicholas Winding Refn and like Gaspar Noé and Lars von Trier, and there's a bunch of amazing artists that have never been. And then there's also ones that have been nominated but never won. But there's some of the greatest like out there. Like David Fincher's never won.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher Nolan's never won.
Yeah.
Yeah, Oscars like doesn't necessarily mean anything, but we just knew who was gonna win.
We could kind of tap into the zeitgeist of how people were feeling and what people were talking about.
Yeah. It was just so overwhelming with everything everywhere. Like people were just it was so critically lauded, and I wasn't honestly too big on that movie. Like I said before, like I thought it was a little bit annoying. It was just very ADHD, and even though it was all very well done, and I don't know, the characters were a little bit annoying, and but it definitely pushed the boundaries, and I respect it, and it's cool. It's original.
I like the movie a lot. I'm happy it won, personally. I mean, there were so many good movies in 2022. I can't say I would really want to pick one, but I'm happy that Everything Everywhere won because I think it was a really fun movie. Like I said, I saw it 3 times. Wasn't planning on seeing it 3 times, but every time I saw it, I was drawn into it once again. And I can't say that about every movie last year.
Yeah, I saw it twice. I saw it with you. And I was like, okay, that was cool. And then I saw it, and then like everyone talked about it. I'm like, is there something I'm missing from this? And then I went to go see it again just to kind of get all of it because it is a little bit confusing what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
And so I had to go back and see it, and then I'm like, okay, yeah, I got it now. Like sometimes like movies hit differently with different people and makes you feel certain things. It didn't really hit me on that, even though there was some cool messages, interesting philosophical discussions going on.
Yeah.
It was a very maximalist film. Very, very maximalist. And I think I maybe go towards more of a minimalist sort of aesthetic when it comes to like my taste and shit.
Can I just say, we can put this whole fad to rest. No more multiverse shit. I'm so sick of that.
Oh, dude.
Every movie wants to do multiverse bullshit now. It's just so like, it's like Twilight and vampires or the zombie craze. You know, I don't care about any of this multiverse stuff. And I feel like all these movies are just capitalizing on it because they can be like, Chip and Dale Rescue Ranger. Oh, look, there's all these different cartoons from all these different multiverse. Spider-Man. And like, I'm not saying those are bad movies. I'm just saying, come on, let's like kind of get away from the Rick and Mortyism.
Bro, did Rick and Morty fucking start that shit?
I feel like it must have.
Dude, the whole multiverse, that was cool when Rick and Morty was doing it. And then it really came to a head when the fucking Spider-Man No Way Home, when that came out, I was like, okay, I think they jumped the shark on that, right? Everything Everywhere was, yeah, they had the multiverses, but at least it was an art house original thing, and it's not like taking advantage of our nostalgia. Like when No Way Home came out, I kind of felt like I was taken advantage of, because obviously we're in the generation of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire is my Spider-Man. Like, I don't really care about Andrew Garfield or Tom Holland. I enjoyed all those films for the most part. I don't like how they just took my childhood and used it as a marketing tool for people to come in, and people were like, "Oh my god, it was so good because they brought things back," but it's such a gimmick now.
Yeah, it's exploiting your nostalgia.
Yeah,
and I don't subscribe to that whole Marvel-ism of we bring back these heroes that you know and love, and then it's going to draw more people to the movies. You know, I don't care about any of that. Everything Everywhere did a really good job because they're not characters that have any nostalgia base around them.
No, it's completely original, and these characters are like sort of working class immigrant thing, and the timeline thing, that's cool. And then so we had the Rick and Morty shit, and then they did the multiverse in Doctor Strange.
They did Spider-Man. So they did the Spider-Man animated movie.
Oh,
and
yeah,
that's what really started to launch it.
Yeah. The Spider-Man animated Into the Spider-Verse, which was good, and it was still fresh for the most part, the multiverse stuff. And then when they did another Spider-Man movie with multiverses, bro.
And then Doctor
Strange, which I heard was really bad.
Yeah.
Even though Sam Raimi, like, you know, you're a legend. I heard it was trash, but I didn't want to see that shit because I saw Doctor Strange 1 and I just thought it was trash. There's some trippy stuff going on. I was not fucking with Doctor Strange 1, and I'm obviously not a fan of the Marvel movies anymore. We can talk about the groundedness of the Marvel shit, how everything went into space and became too technological. It wasn't boots on the ground. For me,
Yeah.
I don't like all the space shit they started doing and all the fantasy magic stuff. Like
Hmm.
before, the Marvel movies were like one character on Earth that's like a human that gets powers and he's still living and he's like fighting criminals that like live on Earth and they have this sort of grounded based thing. And now it's like, no, we're fighting aliens and we're fighting fairies and we're fighting wizards and it's just like all this CGI shit. And I think that all started with Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, I think Guardians of the Galaxy was the first one to take it into space, and I fucking love Guardians of the Galaxy when it first came out. But that's where they really found their stride in their humor and like where the direction they wanted to take the Marvel in. After that, after Endgame, I don't give a shit about any of this stuff. I watched it because like, you know, it's fun. I love superheroes as a kid, but at this point, it's just not for me. It brings nothing to the table that I want to watch. Like I said, I think it's just exploiting us in a way.
Yeah, and like Tom Holland's Spider-Man has a suit that like flies. It's like an Iron Man suit. That's
Hmm.
not my Spider-Man, dude. My Spider-Man is organic and he shoots webs from his wrists and it's all like it's all organic. It's all because he got bit by a radioactive spider. It's not because Iron Man gave him a suit that he can fly in and shit. Like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
doesn't it's just not for me. And then we got the new Batman, the new Flash movie is
Oh,
fucking with the multiverse as well.
I know, dude. Like, God, it's so annoying. I'm so over it. I might see the Flash movie, but I'm not going to go out of my way to see it.
I'm gonna see it because I like Batman.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
like I
like,
said, I like Batman.
okay, okay. I mean, that's up to you, but like, fucking two Ezra Millers in a movie is too much for me. I don't think he's like a good actor. I don't really want to like watch the Flash. I don't think Flash is that cool.
Yeah, I'm finna see it though. I'm a DC guy
Hmm.
I'm DC over Marvel. I think the DC stuff is really cool, and I like the Zack Snyder contributions to it too.
Yeah.
Even though those get a lot of flack, I actually do enjoy Batman versus Superman, and I liked the Snyder cut of the Justice League because I saw
Hmm.
the Snyder cut. No, I saw the original Justice League, and I was like, wow, this is really bad because I enjoyed Batman vs Superman. I want to see where the story continued with the actual Justice League shit. I like the Snyder cut a lot, and they really fleshed it out. And then also the Ultimate cut of Batman vs Superman is also really good. And I'm gonna see the Flash.
You never saw Black Adam?
Oh yeah, dude, that looks like it's trash though. That
Yeah,
looks
I
like
hear
it's
it's
fucking
trash.
trash. Like I'm not gonna see Black Adam, dude.
Yeah, Shazam 2 just came out
Oh
too,
yeah, I
and
haven't
I'm
seen
not gonna see
Shazam.
that.
No, I'm not gonna see that shit.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what DC comes up with. But I like the Joker. I think it's cool that they can be like more creative with their universe as opposed to Marvel's very structured now and everything has to be Disney down. I'm not the biggest fan of these superhero movies anyway.
No.
Because they're just so big budget, but they're so just like we said, like shot reverse shot, shot reverse shot,
Yeah, master shot,
master.
establishing shot, and
Yeah.
it's kind of boring. Yeah, like it's cool when they bring in a stylistic auteur like Zack Snyder or something, because you might get like a basic jumbled story, but at least you're gonna get some cool visuals in there, which I fuck with because I'm very much about personal aesthetic over sort of the corporate studio style factory filmmaking. An Oscar movie that I just saw recently that I really liked a lot, Triangle of Sadness, directed by Ruben Östlund. I think it's kind of a masterpiece.
You think so?
From his like filmography, when we talk about filmmakers that we like, we have like we have our fame. Like we were talking about just with Tarantino, how he makes good movies, but they're movies about the past, and he's
Hmm.
not necessarily like hitting with the zeitgeist.
Hmm.
This movie, Triangles of Sadness, is fucking hitting on the fucking zeitgeist, dude. Like, it's like, he's like, this is the era we're living in.
Hmm.
I'm gonna tell this story. We're gonna talk about, like, what the time we're living in, like, commentary-wise, society-wise, even, like, technology-wise, and that affects how we interact with people. And it's dope. And his whole style is really cool.
It's like cuttingly modern, you know?
Yeah.
Did he do that in The Square? I never saw The Square.
The Square is modern. Force Majeure is modern.
Mm-hmm.
He's like very much a modern filmmaker, and he's like, I'm gonna make a movie about what's going on now. I was kind of blown away by it a little bit, and I'd seen The Square before. I thought, oh, it's alright. It's pretty pretentious. It won the Palme d'Or.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I saw it. 'Cause I want to see like all the Palme d'Or films because they're always like pretty good. And
Triangle won Palme d'Or.
Triangle of Sadness won Palme d'Or, and The Square won Palme d'Or. And Ruben Östlund is the only there's only like two other filmmakers that have won two Palme d'Ors.
I know.
And that's Francis Ford Coppola won the Palme d'Or, I think, for The Godfather and The Conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And then Victor Sjöström. Victor Sjöström is a famous director from Sweden, like pre-Bergman era.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I forgot the names of the movies, but he plays the main character in Wild Strawberries.
Oh, okay, yeah, because Bergman was saying that was his favorite director of all time, and he was really honoring him in Wild Strawberries. So that's really cool.
I think Ruben Östlund is sick, and it's cool to have a new Swedish guy. Like I look forward to seeing his more of his output.
Mm-hmm. But you are Swedish. He represents something that is familiar to you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Triangle of Sadness is basically you follow this couple. They're kind of influencer. Well, she's an influencer. He's like trying to be a model.
They're both models.
They're both models. So they get invited this free trip on a yacht, and the yacht is just full of all these rich people that are kind of useless to society, but they're so freaking rich.
Yeah.
Not that they're useless, but they don't really bring anything to advance humanity. And they're all enjoying their time on this yacht. And it's just the juxtaposition of all the super rich people, the staff, and then the cleaning crew that's even below the staff.
Mm-hmm.
I just love the way they have that commentary woven throughout the movie of class, but not just class. It gets to the root of class, of power. Who holds power and why do they hold power?
Yeah.
And that's what really made the movie for me.
I think it's interesting how they take these two characters that are supposed to be very vapid and kind of gives them like a more of a dimensional feel to it. And it talks a lot about like gender roles. They talk about how like, women want all these, they want to be equal and everything, but they still want men to like take care of them and pay for them and stuff, even if they are making the same amount of money or more money, which is an interesting discussion that I think is coming about nowadays with gender identities and stuff too.
But I love that scene at the beginning.
Oh, dude, it's amazing.
Where they're fighting over the dinner. Yeah. And then, she's like, yeah, I did do that to you on purpose. But she's like, but my reasoning is I need to know if you can take care of me if I'm pregnant. Or if I need to take care of a child or something. Like there is a very naturalistic need that we have as humans for these, things that start petty argument.
They go on this luxury cruise together, and like you said, there's all these like different characters. It's like kind of the ensemble piece of all these characters. You got like the rich people who are living the life, and you've got the crew members who are told to say yes to everything that they get requested, literally like everything. And then you got Woody Harrelson as the captain, who's fucking amazing. He's a communist. He's a Marxist. He's not a communist. He's like, I'm not a communist. I'm a Marxist. And
he's a Marxist American.
Yeah. And he gets in this huge debate with this other guy, Slatlo Burek, I'm a big fan of him because he's in all the Pusher films.
He is, yeah.
And he's in Copenhagen Cowboy. Basically, like story-wise, they're all on this luxury ship, and then everyone gets food poisoned, and everyone's shitting and pissing themselves and throwing up everywhere, and then they get attacked by pirates. So they get shipwrecked. I think everyone pretty much dies.
Everyone dies, yeah.
Yeah, everyone dies, and you don't even like see it, but they end up on this island where all these people who are like super affluent and influential in the real world and our society and civilization like become useless. And then one of the crew becomes like the one that's at the bottom of society, the Filipino girl, Abigail, is capable of surviving on the island and has to start taking care of everyone else, but she becomes the top of the hierarchy, and everyone has to work for her because she knows how to like actually survive on this island. So we got this like Lord of the Flies thing going on, where everything is flipped. Civilization is an island, then those like rich people are like in power. But then if we go to like an actual island, like it's all like the metaphor of an island, then when it comes to like basic survival instincts, that means like the crew, like the more salt of the earth people are gonna be able to take over, and that's their territory. That's like what they have control over. And then you can kind of see how that power kind of goes to this girl's head a little bit too, because she starts taking advantage of people kind of more unnecessarily, but people have to do what she says because they want to survive on this island. They're shipwrecked and stuff. And that was a really interesting commentary. I just love the structure of this film, how we go from in the mainland in London and stuff, and then we go to on the ship, and then we like the last third is on this island.
I love the third act. The third act blew me away. I was talking to someone, and the menu came out last year too, and it seems like whenever I talk to people,
Dude,
they
yeah.
either like the menu or they like Triangle of Sadness. There's no in between. Personally, for me, I like Triangle of Sadness.
Yeah, I think Trial of Silence is way better than the menu, and it's like, yeah, they did such a better job of explaining things, and the menu was like, I didn't like the menu very much. It didn't make any sense, like the motives of
mhm.
people, and it is like very much like the menu, the same sort of commentary, but this was just like done way better and it's like artistically more sound. And the menu is very Hollywood.
Well, I think the menu is about indulging in like upper class and things that don't really bring any benefit to other people.
Mhm.
But I think Triangle of Sadness really deals with something deeper than that. It's like who holds the power in what situation. I love the third act of Triangle of Sadness because people are like, Abigail, she's like turns into like this evil monster or something. I'm like, no, she's not doing anything different than what they would do on the mainland.
Yeah,
Because everyone wants to hold on to their power where they can.
yeah,
And she's holding on to the power she has in a very different situation, but she's still in control because that's what anyone would do. And that's
yeah,
what has happened to her all her life. So when, the ending is going to get into spoiler territory, when she tries to cover up the whole thing at the end,
yeah,
I don't think it really matters if she did it or not.
yeah,
The commentary's there of like how far we go to hold on to the power we have. And it's not about if you're an American Marxist or if you're a Russian capitalist.
Mhm.
It's do you hold power in your structure?
Mhm. It's a commentary about like how power changes people.
Mm-hmm.
It's a commentary about how money changes people. It's a commentary about how like war changes people. She's like helpless in the beginning because like when you don't like have anything to offer, you gotta like be nice to people.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have any like skills or anything, like you're not gonna have any power, you're not gonna have any say so. And then when she finally gets that power, she's like, yeah, she kind of does turn into a monster. She doesn't go about it in a way that's like nice. She's just like in this position of power, which people, once they get into power, they definitely change their personalities and stuff.
I love how the main character we follow kind of just becomes a whore. And
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that's what he can bring to the table.
yeah,
That's what he does to survive.
yeah,
And I love it. You just feel like you try to relate to this character and he's kind of an asshole. Like he's like very like vapid. And then at the end you just see what he could bring to the table is just his body and his good looks.
yeah. Well,
And
that's what he brings to society too, is his body and his good looks.
yeah.
His triangle of sadness.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this scene. I love the opening scene a lot. Like he's talking to all the models, and they're like Balenciaga, H&M, Balenciaga, H&M, and it's like they're switching between.
Yeah.
And they're like the more luxury brands are more like, oh, like we're better than you. Like don't even look at us. Like we're the shit. And then like H&M, which is more mainstream, lower quality, is like, hey, we're trying to have a good time. We're like trying to sell like sort of like just to normal people. But Balenciaga is like, no, you can't have this. This is our club. Woody Harrelson is fucking amazing in this.
He's just an alcoholic.
Yeah, alcoholic Marxist, and maybe sometimes it's a little too preachy with the message and stuff. It's still like really good,
Mm-hmm.
and the commentary like of them and him and like Slatvo Bierich having that debate, and they're like reading quotes from Marx, and like he's reading quotes from like capitalists, and then he's reading quotes from like Marxists or like communists. That was really cool. And then they literally like are locked themselves in the captain's cabin getting drunk, like giving a bunch of like either capitalist or Marxist rhetoric,
Mm-hmm.
and that's while the fucking ship is just they're in the storm and they're seasick,
Mm-hmm.
and shit is coming out of the drains and it's just going everywhere, like leaking all over like the fucking corridors and stuff. And it's just like, but I love the way he builds scenes. Like I love the drama, how he's able to like build a scene up. You see it in the beginning, you see it with dialogue on the ship and everything. Like he's able to like build a scene, and it's just really interesting. I thought it was very unique, and yeah, I like this film a lot. I think I would recommend it to people. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot to say. Like I said, it's hitting on the zeitgeist. It's very modern. It's the way it was like, it's almost invisible, the way it's shot. Like I was so into the story and stuff that I forgot about like
Mm-hmm.
the filmmaking, and I look forward to more.
Yeah.
I think after this movie, like he became almost like a household name, and he's like 48. He's still got like shit to like say, bro. Like
Hmm.
he's gonna like I'm literally looking forward to his
Yeah.
my Swedish brother in,
Hmm.
bro. It's cool.
Rip Carl B. Dean, dude. She
Oh
passed
yeah.
away like that. That's really sad. She was really good in this movie,
Hmm.
and it's really like unfortunate that she passed away so young because she was really talented in this.
Yeah, R.I.P. to her.
So I watched Paths of Glory last night.
You did?
Yeah, it was good. I'm a huge Kubrick fan. You
Yeah, I
know
know.
that.
Yeah, that's like your favorite director now.
Well, I've always thought he was amazing. I think just his structures, like no one can beat him. He's such a good writer director, and even cinematographer. Like he pretty much like picks every shot that he shoots. So I think like as a director as a whole, every aspect that he controls is always like top notch. It has this Kubrick feel to it.
Hmm.
And Passive Glory is the same. I feel like the structure is so well done. I love the cinematography, just like one of the first movies to use Steadicam in the trenches. I thought it was like really, really good. I don't think it's one of my favorite Kubrick movies. I have had people tell me that it's their favorite. It didn't blow me away with anything new. Things like Barry Lyndon, Eyes Wide Shut, The Shining are a little better than this.
Clockwork,
Clockwork, yeah. I mean,
2001,
everything. I love everything he
Doctor
does.
Strange,
Yeah.
Love. No, I when I first saw Paths of Glory in high school, I was kind of blown away by it.
Hmm.
Like it's a very anti-war
Hmm.
picture. I don't think I've really seen anything like that because I kind of grew up on like the Saving Private Ryan sort of like, oh yeah, war is like action, it's cool and stuff. And like I watched The Pacific and it's like, oh, this is cool. And then in Paths of Glory, it was really dope. And this whole you're like on the side of the are you on the side of the French you're on the side of the French, they're on the side of
Yeah.
the French, but you never see a German soldier in it.
Yeah. It's all contained within the French army. Kirk Douglas is the colonel, and he's the most American French guy I've ever seen.
Yeah, Kirk Douglas is great. It's just like a fucked up movie because they're just like trying to do the right thing and they're like they know they're gonna die in this battle and it's like there's no choice. They're either gonna have to go out into the trenches and get shot up or they're gonna have to, if they don't go out, they're gonna be accused of treason and then executed.
Yeah, I love the scene at the beginning where, you see the way the plans are passed down
Mm,
from higher up generals down to
mm,
Kirk Douglas, and he's like, "How many do you expect to die?" And the general says, "Well, 10% are going to die from our own artillery. 25% are going to die getting to the enemy lines,
yeah,
and then we're going to have to hold the ant hill for an entire day."
yeah,
And Kirk Douglas is like, "You're telling me I'm going to lose like 65% of my people?" He's like, "It's the
yeah,
price we pay." And Kirk Douglas obviously is like, "There's no fucking way we can do this."
yeah.
But they're getting sent into a suicide mission. He still does it. He is a true patriot, whereas everyone else hides behind this guise of patriotism.
Yeah. And it's kind of like when we saw with In the Loop yesterday
Hmm.
with James Gandolfini. It's like, yeah, like I'm gonna go with the war because like I'm a real soldier, even though I disagree with it. But like I just have to do it because I gotta follow orders, and I'm a real soldier, even though it's just totally unnecessary.
Hmm.
Like World War I is such an unnecessary war.
Hmm.
Just like nationalism. I think a thing in Paths of Glory that they touched on really well was like, no, we're just gonna follow orders because we gotta represent the country, even though it's totally unnecessary. They just sending bodies out there. They're barely getting any land. Like just like with All Quiet on the Western Front, they like barely even moved the
Hmm.
whole war from this one trench. It's just like devastation and death for no reason, all
Hmm.
because they want to represent their country.
I love the trial scene in Passive Glory where the three men that are chosen to be executed are on trial. Kirk Douglas is trying everything he can to vouch for them. Like the whole committee is like not even hearing him out. They're just like brushing him off, and they're brushing off these soldiers because they're just like, well, people have to die. I guess it's these three. We have to set an example. And he's trying his hardest to say that these three men are good men, that they should be spared and they have honor.
Hmm.
And when the soldiers go up, they're like, well, yeah, I made it to the enemy, or like, I made it to our front line, but then everyone was dead around me. Or, yeah, I tried to get out of the trenches, but my general was shot in front of me and fell
Yeah.
on me and knocked me out. It's like totally unfair that these three are being killed, but.
Yeah, and like one of the guys, so like I remember in the execution scene, like one of the guys is totally like chilling. He's just
Mhm.
like whatever, fucking. And there's the other guy who's like getting hysterical.
Mhm.
He's like getting so fucking hysterical, and he's just like crying and shit. I'm like, dude, that sounds so fucking scary to me.
Yeah.
Having to be like put up and shot, and they got to put the hood on him, and then doesn't one of the guys not put a hood on or something? He just wants to get shot. Like,
Yeah, the guy that's chilling is just like, no, I'm not gonna have a blindfold.
yeah, I want a blindfold, and the guy like who's like being hysterical like has a blindfold and shit, and it's just like,
And then that third guy
yeah.
is like barely alive. He got like punched in the prison
Oh yeah,
because
yeah,
he was
yeah,
being
yeah.
hysterical too,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
he's just on a
Yeah,
stretcher.
yeah, yeah. He's like, yeah. He's like unconscious. Yeah, dude. And they just like shoot all of them. It's like three different sort of like levels of kind of like what war does. And also like there's a scene comparing it to All Quiet on the Western Front where it's like, dude, the war's over. Like, why are we gonna go back into the battlefield? Like, I don't want to fight. And then they just like come over and they fucking anyone who, even though the war's over and they decide that they don't want to like any soldier that doesn't want to go back into the war gets like fucking executed.
Hmm.
This period in Stanley Kubrick's career, he's still doing the classic Hollywood style, because it's like 1957, then we get Spartacus 1960, and then we get Doctor Strangelove 1964, and then we go into like that's when he like made his transition to the new Hollywood style. So that's what's so cool about his Kubrick's like career was that he had done Fear and Desire, The Killing, and then the next year he did Paths of Glory, and that's like his more classical.
Hmm.
Even though Spartacus is like a classic era, Kirk Douglas, yeah.
Hmm.
Kirk Douglas, R.I.P.
Yeah.
legend. He's great.
Yeah, I love his black and white stuff. It's shot so well.
Yeah.
That whole era. Like, did he make Lolita?
Oh yeah, Lolita. Yeah. Lolita's like 1961 with Peter Sellers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only Kubrick film I haven't seen yet.
Hmm.
We should really watch that.
Yeah, I'm down.
I think I've seen all of them. Besides, I haven't seen Fear and Desire, but that's like,
His like first one.
yeah. There's one before. No. There's Kiss of Something. Fear and Desire is his first one, right? And then there's like Kiss of Something. I forgot the name, but anyway, yeah. Paths of Glory. The first Steadicam shots
Well,
are in the trenches.
it's the second. I think there was another movie right before it. It was really good. I'm gonna love Kubrick no matter what. All of his movies hit for me, and it was surprising just how he has this like stark take on like political dramas that it's just unmatched.
Yeah, he's got some shit to say, and he's very. I love the way he tells his stories too. He's just like trying to do something different. Like one of the goats for sure. Yeah, Paths of Glory is good. I like the narrative. I like the execution, and it's just like tight and clean too. Like it's just like so tight, like editing wise and stuff.
Hmm.
And the whole perspective of the French soldiers.
Yeah, it's interesting that we're from the French perspective. I don't know why. It's everything seems so American. All the actors are so American.
Yeah. On this show, I'm a pretty big fan of Brian DePalma. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean he's up there for me. I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, like I think he's one of the most underrated directors of his time. I think when he came into the game, he's like up against Scorsese, Spielberg, Lucas, Francis Ford Coppola.
Mhm.
Like he's in that group, the film brat groups. And I think like maybe he gets a little bit overshadowed by those fucking guys who are literally some of the greatest filmmakers of all time.
Mm-hmm.
But Brian De Palma is in there, and he's fucking amazing director, dude. I love his style. I love like the way he tells his stories, and just so fucking cool. Yeah. Anyway, we watched Obsession from 1976. This is an underrated gem of a picture, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that flies under the radar of his filmography. When you think of Brian De Palma, you think of like Scarface, The Untouchables, Carrie, Mission Impossible,
Dressed to Kill.
Dressed to Kill, yeah. And even that one is like kind of like, I mean, it was a hit and everything. Like it's mainstream. His best films are the ones from like the low key 70s, 80s ones, like Blowout and like. And
Sisters.
Then, yeah, Sisters, bro. Yeah. Sisters is amazing. And then we got in there the same year that Carrie came out in 1976. We got Obsession with Cliff Robertson.
Mm-hmm. And Genevieve Bujold.
Genevieve Bujold. We got Cliff Robertson, Uncle Ben in Spider-Man 1.
Yeah.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
John Lithgow.
We're
forgetting about John Lithgow. Fucking amazing.
He's great.
Dude, like he's also in Blowout. He plays like the serial killer in Blowout. Like a great two-sided, like fucking two-faced guy character, bro. Mm-hmm. Like this one, he's great in this. He's like a very benevolent character, trying to be nice with a facade of niceness,
He's so good in this, though. He really pulls it off really well.
Yeah. John Lithgow, I'm a fan of John Lithgow. But do you want to go into details of the narrative, what the picture's about?
Yeah, so Obsession, you follow Cliff Robertson in, I believe, New Orleans, the South. He's like the cream of the crop of the New South.
It takes place in 1959.
1959 at the beginning.
Yeah.
So what happens is he's this very, very wealthy real estate owner in New Orleans. His wife and his daughter are kidnapped from him, and they demand $500,000
Cliff
ransom.
Robertson's. Okay,
Yeah.
I thought you were talking maybe John Lithgow, but anyway, yeah.
Cliff Robertson's character, his daughter and his wife are kidnapped from him. The ransom demands $500,000. He's willing to pay it, but the police insist that no, we're not going to give the kidnappers money because if they have the money, they're going to put up more of a fight. The police convince him to use fake notes. There's this really cool shot where he's on the ferry and he throws the money over the ferry and the kidnappers get it. They bring it back to their hideout and the police follow them back to the hideout and they open it up and they realize that it's fake money. So they run away. In the pursuing chase, the car with the kidnappers crashes and Cliff Robertson's wife and daughter die in this bloody crash and he loses everything. And this haunts him for the rest of his life. We skip to 1975 and he's still just hung up on this guilt that he carries. He says that he killed them, and him and his business partner John Lithgow, who owns half of the company, they go to Italy to do some deal, and while in Italy he sees a woman that looks exactly like his wife, and it's kind of a Vertigo
his dead wife. Yeah, his dead wife.
His dead wife, yeah. And it's a Vertigo-esque narrative where he falls in love with this woman and he's trying to make her become his dead wife in a way, takes her back to New Orleans from Italy, and that's where the story kind of goes.
I just want to say the first part of this movie with the kidnapping scheme, which is a lot like High and Low by Akira Kurosawa. I think that scene is fucking flawless.
Mm-hmm.
It moves so good. It's so intriguing. The editing is great. It's just scene to scene. The thing about it is that in High and Low, that whole first part could be its own movie. You could have just made that into its own movie, but it's the first 20-30 minutes they fit all of this stuff in, and it doesn't feel like it's super compact, too much happened in one period. The way it moves from setting up the characters, showing them the house, showing his partner, setting up the world, and then the whole kidnapping scheme, and then the fucking chase and the bridge, the classic bridge going up with the cars being chased over it, and then they can't make it, so they fall into the river and then the car explodes.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he just shows up and he sees that happen. He's yeah, his wife and daughter are fucking in there and they're fucking dead, dude.
Yeah.
And then you skip, so it's 1959, then you skip into 1975, and we just see him, like you said, he's not over the death of he's still mourning the daughter and the mother 16, 15 years later. He hasn't moved on,
He refuses to build anything on the plot of land that he owns in New Orleans other than a grave for his wife and daughter, and they couldn't find the bodies, so he just puts this kind of memorial there, and he refuses to build anything.
Yeah. And when he goes to Florence, he goes to the church where he met his wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then inside the church, there's a girl painting in there that looks exactly like his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get the whole Vertigo narrative. He finds this girl that he fell in love with, and he's trying to remake her to get some satisfaction or get some sort of making up someone to fill that void. And he's never let go of this person.
Mm-hmm. A lot of twists and turns at the end. Really well done, structure-wise. I love the way the movie looks. The movie has that DePalma look to it, where everything's a little fuzzy, out of focus. It kind of looks ethereal. Oh my God, it looks so good. Pretty much 2/3 of the movie has some kind of camera movement in every scene. And I love that. It flows so well. They shot the hell out of this movie.
Yeah.
And it looks really, really good.
Yeah, it looks really good. It's edited really good. We got to talk about Bernard Herrmann's score.
Mm-hmm. So good.
This is his last movie.
Really?
Yeah, this is his last film.
Yeah, this was fucking a banger.
Yeah. So when Bernard Herrmann, the studio wanted John Williams to do the score, right? De Palma really wanted Bernard Herrmann to do the score, but they were set on John Williams, and then I think they showed a cut Brian De Palma's like, oh, this is some temp music, and he used a theme from Vertigo in the scene, and they're like, oh, what the fuck? That's like, producers thought like, oh, that's a really good score. Like, what is that? And he's like, that's Bernard Herrmann, and they're like, oh, and he was able to sell them on the Bernard Herrmann doing the score for the soundtrack for the film.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
that's really cool. So he just took a score from Vertigo and tricked them.
Yeah, and they brought Bernard Herrmann in, and I think they did like an original score.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is heavily inspired by Vertigo, like structurally wise, aesthetic wise, the score, the way it looks, the hypnotic feel to it. It's very Hitchcock Vertigo, and we know that because also Paul Schrader and De Palma purposely were inspired by, like, they Paul Schrader was trying to write a script, like a Vertigo inspired script, you know.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned that Paul Schrader, the writer of this, which he's like a legend in his own right. Apparently Paul Schrader and De Palma had a falling out over this movie. They wouldn't talk to each other for a long time because De Palma changed the script around, because originally it was supposed to be kind of a third act where they go into the past and you see, you know, the reveal of who the woman is that he's falling in love with.
Yeah.
But the studio scraped that and De Palma rewrote it, and Schrader never really forgave him for that.
Yeah, he like kind of disowned the script, even though he gets full like writing credit, I guess. But it was a story by De Palma and Schrader, and then Schrader actually wrote the screenplay. But I guess he kind of disowned it because originally in the script there was like some obvious problematic, controversial things going on with this movie, which is kind of like, whoa. Final reveal, you're like, whoa, like, okay, that could have gone a different way.
Yeah.
And I think like the Paul Schrader shit was like, oh no, we're actually going to show some stuff that's very like taboo, and like, we don't really know about this. Like, it's really weird, that whole thing, because it's totally possible like that was supposed to happen.
Yeah, almost. Yeah. I mean, we've had movies that have come out that are going along those lines of that kind of taboo. It's a fine line to walk. They did it very delicately, and you could tell that the studio was really putting their foot down, that like, you can't cross this line. Yeah,
like that was, we've seen some stuff with our specific Park Chan-wook film. That's what came to mind. Like,
I was thinking that too.
Yeah. Old Boy, yeah. I think that's a cool risk stuff, and stylistically, the ending is really cool. When you finally get to the like you said, the Vertigo zoom.
There's only one Vertigo zoom in the whole movie, and like I said, they shot the hell out of this. Every scene has some kind of camera movement in it, and I'm surprised they didn't do a Vertigo zoom, like a dolly zoom. Then at the very end, they finally do it when he's getting to the airport, and I think it's just kind of to pay homage to Hitchcock in another way.
Yeah. Even though the whole movie is like a Hitchcockian mystery thriller, like psychological thriller, like a few of his other, like Sisters, very, very like psycho influenced. Same Dressed to Kill, whole idea of like someone having psychological trauma, how it affects them and stuff. And
it's
like
very psycho too. Norman Bates.
Sisters, Dressed to Kill, Blowout, Carrie, like they're all like have this Hitchcockian thing. Like De Palma's 70s thriller shit, inspired by Alfred Hitchcock. Our boy Dario Argento is thrown into the mix, you know what I mean? Because you know, he was watching, like, he was seeing like the shift of like what was going to be popular, because at first in his career he was making more like counterculture, like hippie stuff, and then he was kind of seeing like, oh no, by 1970 and 1971, like that style was dying out, and he's like, what's going to be like, how am I going to be able to make movies now like, that are going to be, I'm going to get like funding for? And he kind of saw the writing in the wall when he watched Roman Polanski's Propulsion.
Ooh, Propulsion. That's a good movie.
Propulsion, he saw Polanski's style and he was like, oh, this is different, this is new, like we're seeing violence, and with this sort of more prude Hitchcockian style we couldn't show so much because of the code. And then he saw Rosemary's Baby, and he's unlocking the new horror shit. You know? And then 1970 rolls around and we get Dario Argento's Bird with the Crystal Plumage, which is snappy Italian, dope, classy style. It's a Hitchcockian thriller, but we're seeing all the violence on screen. We're seeing all the blood. We're seeing like murder, like these first like murder set pieces, and that kind of opened the gates for De Palma. And he's like, okay, this is like we're gonna do some, like, he's gonna do some shit like that. And he's so inspired by Argento, for sure. And I think they kind of also maybe, Argento inspired De Palma, and then De Palma kind of threw it back, and there was like this sort of 1970s stylistic POVs and stuff that he was doing. Like all that POV shit that DePalma does is definitely very Argento.
Same with Roman Polanski. He does a lot of POV shit too.
Yeah.
The thing is, I really had a problem with this movie. Cliff Robinson is not the best actor. He's not
Cliff
really
Robertson.
good at conveying emotions on his face.
Yeah.
He does get a lot better as the movie goes on, I
Yeah.
will say that.
Yeah.
But all around, I think he's kind of the weakest actor in the whole cast. Genevieve Bujold fucking carries this movie in acting. She's so freaking good in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very believable. And she has to play two different roles. It's, I don't know, like the talent is like so clearly there. Whereas I feel like Cliff Robinson kind of just has to like stand there and like maybe like slightly smile. I'm not shitting on him. I think he gets better as the movie goes on.
Yeah, he's not that great in it.
No.
Like, it's really like John Lithgow. And if you haven't seen Blowout, I would highly recommend it because he's great in that. And then I would recommend Obsession as well too.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's super duper underrated. It's my type of movie. Like, it's definitely a style over substance movie, but that's like what I'm into, dude.
Yeah, but not so much that the substance isn't there. There's still substance.
Oh yeah, there's still a narrative, which
Yeah.
is so great about De Palma because he like balances out so well, and he just really sucks you into this dream like trippy world.
So we both read Killers of the Flower Moon this year.
Yeah, by David Green.
Mm-hmm. Trying to anticipate Scorsese's new movie, and we're both huge Scorsese fans, so we kind of just wanted to read this book. We heard it was really good. It was like it really like blew me away, the way it's structured, the narrative of it. It's all true story, but he makes it so interesting, and he like really cuts the pages as if they're like a film, and it's a scene, you know. And yeah, I really like that aspect of it, that it's true narratively, but it's exciting. It's thrilling.
Yeah, what's the book about?
You tell us.
Okay, so Killers of the Flower Moon, or like how the FBI started, or something like that. The movie that's coming out from Scorsese is called The Killers of the Flower Moon, but there's like an extended title with the book. I forgot what it was. It takes place in the 1920s in Oklahoma, where this village, these Native Americans that are getting pushed out of their country, like are getting pushed out of like their territories. There's this section called Osage.
I think it's Osage.
Osage County, they get put on this reservation there, but what happens is they're actually under a bunch of oil. So at the turn of the century, all of these like poor Indians or these poor Native Americans become very, very wealthy from this oil because they have, that's their land.
Mm-hmm.
Basically what happens is there's, you know, all the white Americans or the government or whatever, they start to like try to take advantage, like start to creep on their like rights and take advantage of the fact that they have so much money, and they kind of issue trusts on them or whatever. They like can get a certain amount of money, all these I guess parameters that restrict the...
It's like it's racist rights where only white people can be in control of how much money these Native Americans can withdraw per month. And it's really fucked up, but they're like trying to put limitations on these people because in the 1920s, which is a huge boom in wealth for America already, this small Osage County per capita is the wealthiest county in America.
Mm-hmm. And then basically in the story, a lot of these natives are being murdered for their head rights.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all this kind of, you know, you start with one murder and you're like, oh, it's probably like one killer. And then it's like 2, 3, 4, and they start building up. And then this whole conspiracy is revealed. And it's like very, very cool. Very good. And this is all true events. This all happened in real life, which is crazy. And then you have the formation of the FBI with J. Edgar Hoover and how they were able to do, because everything is just like they unveil like all this corruption that's going on. It's like, how do you solve how do you find the truth in this place that even the highest officials are like kind of getting involved with these, what's going on in the whole conspiracy.
Yeah. The birth of the FBI, I think, is the addition to the title, and that is the other through line that makes the book so interesting. Is you get this character called, what's his name, White, something White.
Tom White.
Tom White. It's just so cool the way they start to figure out how to conduct their cases and get this information about what's going on as this FBI, because this is something that's never been done before. The FBI wasn't invented then, and and they kind of have to do this. Instead of being, you know, these gun-toting Texas Rangers, they're more incognito and more just informational. I love the way they just figure out the whole plot. They reveal it, and it just like hits you so hard of like just how many people were involved in this corruption in the county.
Yeah. Martin Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio are adapting this movie. It looks like it's going to be so good because after reading the book was amazing. The book was like one of the best books I've like read in recent memory. Like I read The Godfather right before I read Killers of the Flower Moon. The Godfather is a great book, but when I read Killers of the Flower Moon, like the story was just so crazy and so good. Like it was like too good to be true, but like all that shit actually happened. And the fact that Scorsese is going to be behind the lens on this one with DiCaprio and Robert De Niro, it's like the story is so good. Like you can't fuck it up. Like it's going to be fucking good. Like it's going to be. It might be like something like The Departed.
Yeah.
The Departed is just like amazing. Like with Scorsese, I'm very excited about this film. It's one of my most anticipated films of this year, and I look forward to seeing that.
Yeah,
it's like probably top 3 with like Oppenheimer and whatever other fuck else is coming out.
Yeah.
But what do you expect from this new Scorsese?
So I expect
adaptation film.
Yeah, so I expect they're gonna cut out a few things in the story, specifically the stuff in relation to J. Edgar Hoover.
Yeah.
And they're really going to condense it down more to like following this one family, the Burkharts. And I think it's going to be centered around them. Yeah, I expect it's going to be fucking amazing as well. I mean, Scorsese, he's going to kill it. I think DiCaprio said he just watched it a couple days ago and he says it's amazing. And I expect it's going to be the reveals are going to hit the audience hard, you know, because I feel like they're going to be out of the loop at the beginning as we were in the books as well.
Yeah.
And then once it's revealed, people are going to be kind of blown away of just how far this all goes.
Yeah. Just this whole like uncovering of this conspiracy and how like big it actually is. And the fact that like so many of the murders were still like unsolved like 100 years later and shit. And
yeah.
But the actual narrative, it's a great narrative. If there's going to be someone to make this movie, dude, it would be fucking Martin Scorsese.
Yeah.
Because of like the violence and stuff and the time period. It'll just be like so interesting. And you got Jesse Plemons in the cast as well with DiCaprio and De Niro.
Yeah, I love Jesse Plemons. I don't know I know you're not like the biggest fan of him, but I think he's going to kill it playing Tom White.
Yeah, he's fine. I haven't been blown away by him and like anything really, but he's cool. Like this is really going to be his time to like really lock it down and really become the actor that he was meant to become after doing Breaking Bad.
I mean, he's done a couple things between then, but yeah.
Yeah, when he did Breaking Bad, you know, Paul Thomas Anderson's like, "Whoa, who is this guy? I want to put him in The Master."
Yeah, and then I mean, he's been in like he was in The Irishman. He was in.
Oh yeah.
You know, Power of the Dog. Like
I didn't like Power of the Dog,
but he's good in it. Like you can't say he's not a good actor.
Yeah, I didn't like that movie.
Okay, I'm excited to see him.
Yeah, he hasn't really like done it for me yet, but this could be his time where he's gonna really send it because this is like he's fucking pretty much gonna be like the lead dude in this fucking movie.
He is, yeah, and I like that he's playing Tom White because Tom White's a very like. You know, coming from a Texas Ranger family and you're expected to kind of rough it up and be like, kind of like ready to draw your gun. He's a guy that's like, has never shot anyone in the line of duty and is kind of proud of that. And he's a lot more like by the books, new FBI era that's coming out. And I'm really excited to see him play this role of a kind of this like caring FBI agent in a way. I think he's going to be good for it.
Oh, yeah. The material is amazing. We got Scorsese. Expectations are high for this one. Like Scorsese, one of the GOATs for sure. Probably my favorite out of like the film brats.
Yeah, I mean, his filmography just blows me away every time. He's made hit after hit after hit. You know, misses sometimes, but all around, just his legacy is going to hold up.
Yeah, I mean, it already has. Like, he's the guy that puts out consistent shit still. That's really good.
Goat status.
Yeah. But Killers of the Flower Moon, what do y'all think it's going to be like? Leave a comment below.
And don't forget to subscribe.